While at work, I received a phone call. The first call I got was from the officer at the school at Garland High. He was telling me that my son Richard had passed out and that he was on his way to the hospital. They were taking him to the hospital and asked how soon could myself or my husband get to the hospital and everything. My son was on the football team. He was on the Garland football team, and they were in the middle of training session, and he just passed out. He wasn't lifting weights. He wasn't in the middle of football practice or anything like that. He was just in a training session, and he just passed out. And once he passed out, some of his teammates got the coaches over there and the trainers and everything, and they had to come and give him CPR because by the time the coaches got to him, he wasn't breathing. So they had to do CPR on him.
The only thing I remember is getting on the bus and coming to the field house to, come to football and everything, getting dressed and going into the mat room so we can do our drill. I was in the second line, and whenever we went and did the drill, I was going back to the back of the line, and I remember getting behind one of my friends, and that was it.
When I arrived at the hospital, I was totally shocked because something like this had happened to him a couple of years prior, but by the time he got to the hospital, he was awake, he was alert, everything. But this time, he was on the machines and everything. The machine was helping him breathe, and I just didn't understand because I didn't quite understand what had happened to him, because when we first got there, the coaches, they weren't there. They had just spoken with me briefly over the phone, so I didn't know exactly what had happened. Ran tests and everything to try to find out what was going on. They wanted him to stay asleep. So for like the first 3.5, 4 days, we didn't know what was going on. I mean, our whole family was just sick about everything that was going on, and we had family members from Oklahoma and Atlanta and everything to come. Our family came together and everything, and we were all there at the hospital for the 3 or 4 days that he was asleep. The 4 days that our son was in a coma were like the worst days of our life. I mean, we were totally petrified because we had no idea what was going to happen, when he would wake up, if he would wake up, because the doctors couldn't tell us anything because they didn't know anything at the moment. So they were running all sorts of tests, and he had to have different MRIs and CAT scans and everything to try to find out what was going on. Because it was just probably that's the worst thing, because that's that's our youngest, and he's the only son we have. And so, I mean, even at that, with him being 15 and thinking he's strong and knowing, well, we were thinking all the time he was healthy, but to find out that there's something wrong with him, I mean, that was devastating. And as a mother, you just don't, it's like one of the hardest things if you think that you can't do something for your child, because as a mother, you always want to help your child, no matter what, no matter how big they are, no matter what age they are, you think you can always be there to help them, you can make it right. But this was something we couldn't do. We couldn't do anything about it. We couldn't wake him up. I couldn't hold him or anything. When he's little and when he's older, it's like if something happened to him, I want to hold him in my arms, but I couldn't hold him. He could only just lay flat, and I can touch his hand and I can rub his head, but I couldn't actually hold him and comfort him, and I didn't know if he could hear me, even though they said that he could. I didn't know if he could, because he's just laying there. He's not moving, he's not blinking, he's not doing anything. So I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I gotta wait. When he started to wake up, he didn't just wake up because we would call his name and his eyes would flutter a little bit, and then he would go back to sleep, and then we call his name again, and we keep trying to get him to wake up. And the nurse was telling me, if you can hear us, squeeze my hand. And so he was squeezing his hand, and they had him to move his legs and things. So he was doing that, but he didn't quite wake up. It took hours for him to actually wake up. So they started waking him up like around maybe 8 p.m. that Saturday night, and he didn't come fully awake until maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And whenever he would wake up, and he was like, where am I, why am I here? But he still had the tube in his throat, so He couldn't talk too well, so we had to kind of listen and find out what he was asking. Finally, like I said, probably about maybe 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that, he actually woke up so we could actually talk to him, and he started understanding. And then he was awake for a couple hours and he slept, and by Sunday morning we knew everything was better, because by then he was smiling, he was actually talking, but he was still a little out of it because he still couldn't understand, couldn't comprehend exactly what had happened to him, and you know, what was going on. So we had to explain different things to him, like what had happened to him, that he passed out. The coaches had to give him CPR, that the EMTs had to come and put the AED machine on him, and you know, that he had been in the hospital for 4 days, that he'd been in the hospital since Wednesday, and today was like Saturday going into Sunday. And that kind of threw him off, because it's like he'd lost 4 days and he had no idea what had happened. But we were ecstatic when Sunday morning, you know, the sun come up and there he is, he's sitting up, and they've taken the tubes out of his throat, and he has, they've taken the collar off him and everything, and he's just sitting there, and he can actually sit up and talk to us and everything. And it was just like the best feeling. That was the best feeling as in comparison to having the worst feeling.
Whenever my mom had told me that I'd passed out again, I was in the hospital, I didn't know what to think. One of the nurses that came up to me and said, I can't remember exactly what she had said, but you know, she had told me a few things that led up to her saying that I can't play football anymore. And after she had told me that, I completely stopped listening, and I said to myself, I can't play football anymore? Is this a joke or something? Because that's really not funny to me, you know, at all. I've been playing football since I was 6, and I really enjoyed it. You know, once I really learned how to play and everything, I thought it was really fun. So I kept on playing it. Yes, I am a little bit more closer to the coaches now. I'm thankful for them doing CPR on me the day that I passed out. My mom's thankful. She's more thankful than anyone. Football is my favorite sport, you know. Even though I couldn't play football, I still wanted to be a manager, because I got to stay on the team, you know. I got to still be with everyone, and come out and watch them practice and all. Even though I like being out here with the team and being a manager and to help to support the team, whenever I'm watching them play, I still feel sad on the inside some. At least one more game, just being able to play. I don't care if we win or lose, I just want to play.
I'm nervous of him doing anything. I'm nervous now when he walks out of the door. If he leaves and go to school and he called me on his phone, I'm like, okay, what's the matter, what happened? Or if somebody called me, the first thing I think is anything wrong with him? Did something happen to Richard? Where is he? You know, when he's out playing basketball with his friends and things like that, that makes me nervous. And then he wants to play basketball this year at Garland, and I'm a little nervous about that. But his doctor said it's okay. She said about the only sport he can't play is football because of the defibrillators in, and the pads would be directly over that, and he wouldn't be able to get hit the way they do in football. But basketball and baseball, she said, was fine, so he's thinking about doing both. And I'll be nervous, but at the same time, I pray, so I know the Lord spared him for a reason, so I don't believe he's going to take him from us. But still, being a mother, I'm still going to be a little nervous when he's out there on the court. If he shoots the ball, if he runs after it or whatever, I'm going to be right there looking.